Hey everybody. Today on this video I'm going to go through the differences between the cost codes and the cost item database. Both are pretty important when you're getting set up and getting going on Contractor Foreman, and cost codes is the most important. It's kind of one of the first steps after your initial setup to get your cost codes in the system. Contractor Foreman is a job costing system, so it does look at those job costs for all of your reporting type purposes, whether it's labor, material, equipment. So let's jump into kind of how to set all that up, but also almost more importantly, really the differences and understanding those when you're getting going and how they pertain to Contractor Foreman. So from our main menu, you're going to get to your cost items database from here, and you're going to get into your cost codes from the company settings. Again, cost items database. These are actual items. They're material type items. They're actual pieces of maybe equipment. They're certain types of labor like a carpenter journeyman, carpenter apprentice, those types of things. But let's jump into the cost codes first, and I'll probably be falling back and getting back into the cost codes. But to start here, I'm going to go into, again, company settings. I'm going to go to cost and work codes. And as this is loading, you've got your cost code, your cost name, status, action, and detail. We use a two-tiered system for our cost codes. In other words, I've just got a cost code here, say water supply. And as I click my plus button, it opens up to my second tier. So our main code, parent code, or division, people call them different things, parent code or division if you're pertaining to CSI, is water supply is our parent or division, and then these are our codes underneath that, so our child or major. I can edit any of these items at any time by clicking the green pencil icon, or I can make them archived. Archived will leave them in the system. It will just take them off of any active list. You will not see them in drop-downs. The other handy feature we have here is make this available in time cards. In order to keep cost code lists shorter, especially on time cards where it might be easy for an employee to make a mistake and select the wrong cost code, you can make this available or not on a time card. So this way, when they click on the cost code in the time card, one, they're only going to see project-specific cost codes, and then they're also only going to see ones that pertain to labor by checking or unchecking that box. A couple of things I'm going to jump into, but I'm going to mainly focus on kind of the differences between the two. But underneath our action button here off on the left, I can delete the cost codes that are in the system. So we do pre-populate it with a basic set of cost codes, and you can delete that. You can add a parent code and a child code. If you're going to add a whole new, say, child code, there has to be a parent code first. So it's hierarchical. Did I say that right? But we've got a parent code first, and then we put the child codes underneath it. We can import cost codes from a sample list. We do provide you some lists. You have the NAHB list, and we have the CSI 2016. Depending on which one I choose, I just chose the NAHB. Brings up my list of codes. This is the parent or division over here, and you're just putting a check mark in what codes you want to bring in. If you don't have cost codes, it's a good time to study up on cost codes a little bit. You don't want to have too many cost codes. You don't want to have too few. So there is a kind of, for each company, there is kind of that sweet spot of how many cost codes you should have. So you're just going to go down the list, and you're going to put a check mark in which ones you want, and then you hit import codes. The other options that we have from a file, some people already have their cost codes in an Excel file. You can view and download our template right here, pre-populate that. Basically at that point it's just a cut and paste, and then you're going to re-import that file in. Key point here, it is a CSV file and has to remain a CSV file. So there's kind of the quick rundown. You can view your import before you bring it in, and if it doesn't look right, something didn't happen, you can just hit undo, and it'll undo the import, and you can redo that. So the cost code, the difference between, again, that and a cost item. Let's just use construction cleanup. That's a cost code. You might assign labor under that cost code for how many hours it's going to take you to do the construction cleanup. You may, if you're purchasing equipment or material to do that cleanup, you would put those materials, the contractor bags, trash bags, maybe the dumpster, that's all going to be coded under construction cleanup. So all the physical type items go under each cost code. Let's jump over to our cost items database. And in our cost items database, we break this out by material, by equipment, by labor, sub, and other. Contractor Foreman will report on those. So it's going to report at the cost code level, and then it's going to break it down by what we call MLESO, material, labor, equipment, sub, and other. So like I was saying, the cost code is the category that the physical type items get put under for your job costing. And so as an example here, we have 3/4 inch drain rock. Now as we set up these items, and I'll go through that, but you're going to set them up here, and I'll go through that in a second. Let's just open that item up so we can take a look at it. So we have 3/4 inch drain rock. I can give that a SKU number if I want to assign a separate number to it. I'm going to leave it most likely as active, unit cost, and the unit of measure. So this is cubic yard. If you buy a lot of it, it might be by ton. So whatever your unit of measure is goes over here. What's your default markup for that item? Because every time I bring this into an estimate or a purchase order or a change order or invoice or wherever, it'll automatically bring in that markup and anything else I've set. So that's my standard markup. And then I'm going to cost code it. So I'm going to assign the cost code. So every time I bring that in, it's just going to be the same. You build repetitive consistency that way. Everything's getting coded to the same thing. I can write some specs if it's a detailed type item, and then I can make some separate notes here that are internal. These do not go anywhere. So you can see right there where it says internal. So I can set my items up. I can bring those in again in a database. But the important thing to understand is view the template. I'm in material. See, my drop down says material. I'm going to switch this over to labor. Now my drop down says labor. That template is different, of course, than the material one. So you have a different template for each one of those items. So there's a basic difference in how you get to those. So the cost items database, your actual physical type items, labor type items, like I said, journeyman carpenter, journeyman apprentice, labor, etc. Those go under the cost items database. Then the company settings, just walk through that again, and the cost and work codes. So company settings, cost and work codes. Kind of see how this all applies, let's jump over to an estimate. I'm going to go over to estimating. And we'll just throw a couple items into an estimate. So I have an estimate here. I'll go ahead and use the green button to unlock that. I'm going to go into my items. And I just had one section here for MOB. We'll just put some items in here now. Talking about the databases. So I'm going to add from my database. This was a French drain type project, so we're going to add from a database. And I want some drain rock. So there it is right there. I can also just type in a couple of letters for what it is I'm searching for. I can also add material here, a new item. But we're going to pick 3/4 inch drain rock. Now I'm going to bring that in. And let's open that line item up and take a look at it, but let's first set some quantity here. So on that, remember I mentioned it was cubic yard, and so I'm going to say I need 45 yards of that. So it's going to calculate everything for me, Now let's open up the line item. You see 3/4 inch drain rock material. There's my 10% default markup, my 227. And there's my cost code that it assigned that to. So if I go back and I add more things, some labor to place that. So if I'm putting labor to place 3/4 inch drain rock, I'm still going to put it under that cost code. So let's just hit save and close. And now let's bring in a piece of equipment, and we'll do that from add item from database. So we'll click on equipment. And I need a mini excavator to dig that trench. So it's going to show me what I've already added. There's my mini excavator. Hit add. Oop. There it is. Let's set our quantity. So mini excavator, we're going to need that for 8 hours because it's based on an hour. Let's open that line item up just to take a look at it. So mini excavator equipment. So it came from my equipment database, 145 per hour. I said 8 hours, 30% markup, and then there's my cost code. So it's just repetitive, but you add your items. Let's do one manually real quick. I'm going to manually add an item. And as I add my items, I'm going to tell it, is it material, equipment, labor, sub, and other? And again, those might all go under the same cost code. But the Contractor Foreman in its reporting and the rest of the system is going to break it out. So you can say, well, I had X amount of hours budgeted for my equipment under cost code excavation. And as you compile cost, etc., against that, it's going to tell you how you're doing it at that level. So very, very detailed, granular reporting you can get once you've got your cost codes and cost items set up. So I hope that helped define the two and give you a quick rundown on how to bring those in and get them all set up. If you got any other questions, give us a holler. Thanks for watching and have a great day, everybody.